dude, you're crushing it, bro. Like I see your posts out there all the time. I see you at the gym early in the morning, living your best life. Like you're doing great, man.
Mhm. Appreciate it, dude. It's been quite a journey, and as soon as I started realizing how simple this thing is, it got a lot
Hmm.
easier. I just spent
Yeah.
so long like fighting the system. Like it's kind of like going to Chick-fil-A. I tried reinventing how Chick-fil-A works. It's like why was I spending so much time trying to do that? Like it's like I would
Right.
Chick-fil-A's got like a well-oiled machine, and I was like creating my own Chick-fil-A, but I was putting like the ice cream machine in like the bathroom. I was putting the chefs on the roof. It's like why am I doing all this stuff? Just like do what already works. Stop
Right.
fighting it, and this thing got pretty simple pretty fast.
Yeah, 100%. So real quick, just for everyone who doesn't know, give us a quick like 120-second, like just 2 minutes, how you kind of got into the industry, how you were introduced to it, and maybe like what your like first week or two look like, really just popping into it.
Yeah, sweet. So trying to think of how to condense it in 120 seconds. I'm taking 20 seconds trying to figure out
I
how to
know
do
that
that.
was too
But
accurate.
I was,
Just in a couple of minutes. Yeah.
but I was being that the family was very like middle class America, born and raised on a farm, and you kind of like pushed into going to school, pushed into go to college, yada yada. So I got like an undergrad degree, and then I had no idea what I was going to do. So I went on to kind of get like a little pseudo MBA, and then I did corporate America for a few years. I got to travel to some pretty cool stuff. I was a data analyst, not really
Okay.
kind of what I thought I was going to be. I didn't know corporate America was going to be like that.
Yeah.
So I got to travel to like Australia and the Middle East and got to do some pretty cool stuff, but I was stuck behind a desk all day.
Wow.
And I was actually just getting off an interview with someone, and I was telling him, like, my boss came to me and he goes, Dan, you work your butt off for the next 10, 15 years and you can get to where I'm at. And he's probably making like 150, 200 grand. It's like, not chump change, but he was saying like a good thing. And I'm like, dude, it's going to take me how long to do that? Like what? Like, and I'm working my butt off, working like 70, 80 hours a week
Right.
as like a consultant. And, I started doing the math, and, I could probably go cut some grass and end up doing better. So I was just like, this ain't for me. I got to find some stuff where I can really be in control of how much I'm making. If I'm going to put 70, 80 hours in a week, like, I'm going to do it for myself. So I was just looking for any like
Sure.
entry level sales job. Like I didn't know it was in being insurance, and I just started applying for different roles, and I started seeing like all this family first life stuff pop up. I'm like, what the heck is this thing? Like, and like you can make how much money here? I'm like, no effing way. Like this can't be right. Like, this guy has got no college degree. You're telling me he's making more money than I'm making as like a corporate consultant?
Hmm.
And I
Right.
talked to some folks. I'm like, yeah, this is real. So then I looked on like Glassdoor and everything, and I saw all these awesome reviews, and I'm like, this has got to be too good to be true. Like, this can't exist. And then I was like, I got to give it a shot to at least prove myself wrong. Right? My hypothesis
Sure.
was this is too good to be true. Right? So I was like, I got to go prove that wrong.
Hmm.
And I think I applied through like ZipRecruiter. And then my birthday weekend a few years ago, I took the weekend off to prove that this could be, I had at least proof that this was too good to be true, right? I had to prove that.
Right.
And I went out and helped 3 families my first week on a Saturday, and all America was an HMS and 2 Eagles. And then I was like, okay, I can do this. I wasn't paid yet, but like, okay, this was simple. I got, people thank me for doing something. And then on Tuesday, I had like a $3,000-$4,000 commission statement from America come in. I'm like, what? So I called up my boss at the time, and I was like, dude, deuces, I'll see y'all later. It's been real. And ever since then, I've just kind of gone all in. And then I was just out of school, right? I was like 2 years working for corporate America. And, what does every young kid do when they get a good job? They spend every freaking penny of it. So I didn't come into this
Right.
thing with any money. I came in broke as broke could be. And, I was living in a decent apartment because I had that comfortable paycheck coming in. So I was comfortable doing that. So I had to work. I had no option than to
Right.
work because I didn't have a fallback. And I had to make this work. So my first few weeks, it was a struggle, but like from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, I was banging those phones. I was probably making 600-700 calls a day just because I had no other option. Right.
Right.
And I looked at it like, hey, my job's to dial. Like when I would go out to eat, okay, you know what, they get what you got to eat, and the hostess sits you and says, hey, you know, Bob, your server is going to be with you in 2 minutes, and you're looking at your watch, 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by, and you start freaking out, like, I'm going to leave, I'm going to pick up and leave, like, hey, where's my server? I was like, hey, this is how upset I have to get at myself if I'm not dialing by 8 o'clock. If I'm not doing what all the top producers are telling me to do, I got to get mad at myself, because this is not going to work if I try fighting the system. So I just I pick up as many old leads as I could, and I just went to freaking town. And then like the first 2 months, I was issue paying a good bit, but I wasn't making any money. I was comfortable with that, because I was reinvesting absolutely every single penny I had outside, you know, paying my basic bills. I was investing that back into leads. And then like I got to a point where, okay, now I can start cutting down my lead expenses. I got better in the home, and then the money really started flowing in after, you know, a few months of giving it all.
Sure. So basically you just saw this.
That was definitely longer than 120 seconds, but yeah.
Yeah, no, you're good, man. That was good. So I mean, so basically you just saw this crazy opportunity, you know, and we're like, I got to prove this wrong. You got here and it was as good as you hoped it was, but you kind of got that vision right away. You had to go to work. Yeah, you had to go to work because of where you were financially, and you just were throwing everything back into leads, really giving yourself that chance to win, you know, by having that good lead flow, and got yourself to the point where you could. It sounds like you were investing in yourself at first. Am I right? Like investing in your leads, getting yourself where you needed to be. You know, I'm sure you were overcoming chargebacks. You know, you were making sure your lead flow was right, and just making sure you were making your money. And then you transitioned into investing in the business as growing. Am I kind of getting that right from what you said?
Yeah, 100%. And like I did when I was at my old job, I was thinking of different ways I could start, you know, generating money through like my own like side hustles. And I started buying some real estate. You know, and I wish I found this before I started doing that. I started like investing in like some Amazon stuff. I was selling stuff on Amazon. So I understood that, you know, to start a business, like this is a true business over here. This isn't one of those like fake businesses where you don't really own your book. This is a real business. So it's like, okay, you know, if I'm going to start a business over here, I need a way to start generating some capital, right? So I mean, personally, what I did, I opened up a credit card because I saw all these people having success. So I know the system works. I just got to figure out how to tweak things over time and get better at this thing. But yeah, I dumped everything I had back into the business. And then as I started generating money, because I'm not used to having money, I go to John Wetmore, like, dude, like, how do you keep yourself motivated when you start having money hit your bank account? He goes, I spend it. So I'm like, okay. So I started hiring staff, and like every single penny I have to this day, it goes back to the business, because I don't want to have an award for having the biggest savings account. Like that's not going to do me any good. I want to have an award for having a big business. And, you know, then by that time, if I stop working, well, guess what? Let's say I have a heart attack tomorrow, right? Thank God I have an American HMS in myself, so I'll have some protection. But if heaven forbid something happens, I want to have something where I can generate income that'll generate income for me, kind of like a little virtual ATM machine. And that's what the growing side is doing for me right now. It's, you know, it's been going pretty cool. You know, being able to take Ivan's brain, Wayne's brain, some other folks in this call and see what they're doing. I just copy what they do, and it works. But yeah, I just put everything back into it.
You had a strength and an advantage that I see that it takes some people, and even some top producers in this company, years to develop. And that is that you saw this as a business right off the bat. You know, I think we've all been in those situations where we've seen someone like start selling makeup or candles online, and they're like, oh, this is my business. Or I'm kind of like, oh yeah, some business. You know, you probably make a couple $100 a week. And then, but I mean, you come in here and you're getting 5, 10, 15,000 in deposits, and you almost can't treat it like it's your money. You know, because when you're starting out, like I found that out, because same thing, I was not used to seeing that kind of money hit my account, and that temptation to just take a break, to kind of live, you know, a little, whatever you want to say, up your lifestyle is so big. But when you realize, okay, I'm an actual business, I need to keep this going. And you understood off the bat from having those other businesses, a lot of businesses aren't profitable for the first year or two. Now, this is not something that we have to experience in our business. We can be profitable right away. But if you have that mindset and you're reinvesting, I mean, you could be like a David Wichard who in 10 months, he stayed
Yeah.
broke for the first year. And in 10 months, he's got who at least 40,000 coming in, just from bonus, a crazy amount from a business he built. So that's awesome, man. Good for you. Now, so obviously you had the right mindset. Sounds like pretty much right from the beginning. At what point did you start feeling comfortable with your own lead flow, with your own production, as far as what you were spending on leads, how much you were writing? Where did you get to a point where you're like, my performance is fine, I'm comfortable, I can start investing in the business? Where was that for you?
So I didn't start investing. I started investing back into the business before I was comfortable in my lead flow. So it took me a while to start seeing the lead flow, like get it consistent. I mean, at the time I was running all like game time final expense, and I ran that up until like June, July of this past year. I was almost all like game time final expense and CRM leads. And obviously, that was kind of, game time, like Facebook can go like up and down in terms of the lead flow. It probably took me 5-6 months to really get like a good understanding of lead flow. And that's something I wish I started doing earlier. And it is that simple to actually, try to figure it out. You have relationships with vendors, but now, we have all the CRM leads, you got phone burner, you got the instant leads everywhere. So it's a lot, if you just plan it properly, it should be a lot simpler to actually start nailing down what your lead flow looks like. But kind of out of the gate, I mean, I would spend like $2,500 a week in leads.
Okay.
It took me about a month or two to get there, but then that was just an expense that I started doing every single week. So I was like, hey, if I got like 100 game time leads come in, like I'm gonna trip over some sales. Like,
sure.
If I just go to work, I'm just gonna trip over some success.
Right.
But then once I started seeing like the money come in from this, I started investing pretty much out of the gate. Like I started like a small ZipRecruiter account like a month or two in. I hired staff out of the gate, and every time I looked at an extra expense I was adding, I was like, okay, I gotta go make one more sale. So I guess I kind of there wasn't really a point. I got really comfortable in lead flow, and still it's up and down.
Okay.
But it probably took 4 or 5 months to get comfortable in my actual lead flow. When I started investing was about 2 months in. I hired staff, got ZipRecruiter going, and how I looked at it was, okay, this is how much I'm making, so this is how much I can afford to spend. I looked at it differently. I said, hey, this is how I want to build, right? This is how much I need to spend. How much do I have to issue pay? So I just looked at it a little bit differently. So, okay, now I want a ZipRecruiter, now I want a staff. Okay, how much do I need to issue pay? How hard do I have to work? So I just kind of reversed that a little bit. So every time I would add an expense, I'm like, okay, great, I got to go work more. It's not like, hey, I'm going to work the same and try to invest more. It's not going to work. I was like, hey, if I want an extra $600 a week going into this platform, I got to go make one more sale a week. I got to go make 10 more door knocks.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So you really had the vision up front. So you were really kind of investing in ZipRecruiter and admins and staff before you even had your own down. And so, okay. So I guess my question then, so pivoting from that would be, at what point did you finally feel like you had a balance there? Or are you still like kind of finding that ground as far as—
I don't want a balance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To be honest, for right now, I don't want that balance. If I feel
you like feeling uncomfortable,
it probably means that I'm not. Yeah, like I'm bringing on 2 extra staff on Monday. My cousin's sitting outside my apartment. I just picked him up from the airport from Jersey, come down to Florida, and he's going to help me train 2 of the staff I got coming on Monday. And that's going to be a bunch of extra bills I got to pay, right? So that's uncomfortable. Sure. I got to go work harder. So I don't want to feel comfortable right now. I'm in growth mode. If I want to grow and I'm comfortable, I'm probably not growing. So I'm comfortable having that uncomfortableness. Sure.
Now, and what has that growth? Let's talk about that then. So awesome. So you've really been putting it out there. I've seen you've been crushing it. What has that growth look like for you on the individual producer side? And then how has it been looking for your team? Can we talk about both those aspects there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the growth on my end, so like last year, I mean, I was running like 50 appointments a week for a while to figure this thing out.
Wow.
And that was tough. I just see like Easton go run 52 appointments. I'm like, hell, I'm gonna get 53. And then I see Easton post 54. I'm like, darn, I gotta get 54 next week. But Easton and I kind of had a battle going back and forth because, you know, we weren't good at this thing a year ago. So we had to stack the deck in our favor. So I was issued, my numbers have stayed relatively consistent over like the last, I'd say 8 months, somewhere around like 40 to 50 grand. My best was like 60 something. But you know, now that I'm building my team, you know, and I've gotten better at the in-home by running so many freaking appointments, is that now I kind of stack my weekends very heavily. So I'll go around 20, 30 appointments on the weekend, write 10, 15 on the weekend, and then I build during the week. So my issue paid numbers are staying relatively similarly. But what I've done is I've condensed it a lot into a few days. So what that does is give me a few days to start building and spending more time with my team, you know, doing training, seeing where they need help, following up with new agents, you know, making sure I'm still aligned with their goals. And then, I mean, this time last year, my team had me on it, and I think we did like 20, 30 grand. And I think we did 33 grand in February, just me. And I mean, my team so far this week has submitted about 110,000.
Wow.
So it's, like, I'm cool with that. So
Yeah.
the team's obviously been growing. And when I first started hiring, I was just convincing people why they should work here. Hey, this is the best place ever. Like, come work here. And now it's like, no, dude, like you go spend $500 on leads and you don't make it back. Like, are you going to curl up? Like, are you going to fold up like a lawn chair? Or are you going to keep investing? And so like, we're the Yankees over here, right? So if someone doesn't just show up and say, hey, I want to go play for the Yankees. Like, no, like, why should they play for us? Like, why should they be, you know, with Family First Life? You know, we sold $200 million last year. Or 2 years ago, we did 325 million this year. Like, why should you work with us? What makes you think you're going to be successful over here? And I'm like super excited with the team growth. So now I'm getting into the system where I'm now after conference, which unfortunately I got the Rona, so I wasn't able to make it to conference. But all my agents were, and it fired them up. Like, they're like super freaking excited now. So now I got like 3-4 agents that are starting to share a similar vision that I had when I went to conference last year, and they're all starting to want to build their teams. Like, they're all fired up. So now it's getting very exciting because this thing should start multiplying, you know, once you find some other people with a similar vision.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's awesome. Just seeing your growth there, you know, going from, you know, 30,000 a month, just you, to last week, you said what, 110 with your team?
Yeah. I mean,
or last week, what was that?
About like, this current week we're at like sitting around like 110, 120. I mean, I had 2 folks on the team. They're going to write about 30 grand this month. Another one's done about 25, and another one that did like 19. So a lot of these people are buying into the vision that we go to work.
Sure.
So, and I was following Dave Witcher's lead of, hey, he's waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. If I want to be like Dave, I got to start waking up at 4. Okay. So I started waking up at 4. And I just started working hard. And for a while, I always focused on, hey, if I go issue pay 40 grand, my team is going to, you know, they'll do 20, right? And they'll be happy with that. And I kind of took that a step back. Hey, if I'm waking up at 4 and going to work every day and working really hard, hopefully I'll help, you know, crazy attracts crazy, right? So I want to attract those folks that want to work really hard. So, you know, and let's say, hey, if I go work 100 hours a week, maybe my team will want to work 50. If they're working 50, they're going to go make a lot of money. So it's starting to get a little bit contagious with folks that, you know, want to work.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny that what you said right there. I remember getting in some people and they're getting these big checks, most money they ever made. And you would think as a team builder, like, someone doesn't need, like, I felt like I didn't need any more motivation to go work than I could make $10, $15, $20,000 in a week. But then people are so inspired by you to a level that it almost doesn't make sense. They're like, oh man, you're out there crushing it, and they're doing it too. And I'm like, yeah, just go to work and you can do it too. Like, it almost didn't make sense to the level that they were inspired by. And some people even better than me. Like, I'm like, you're better than me. If you worked harder than me, you would be making more, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
It's a weird dynamic being a team builder like that.
Yeah.
That still confuses me.
It's crazy, dude. Like, I remember I went up to, it's like 3 or 4 months ago. I went up I live in Orlando now. I went up to Greenville to go to like a winter conference or something. And I was like super excited to go hear Dave Wishart speak. And I told him this too. It's like, dude, like, I thought you were terrible. All you talked about was having heart and going to work. Like, you didn't even talk about insurance. Like, you didn't say anything about insurance. Like, give me something I can go do. And for the next few months, I was like, how the heck does this guy have a massive agency? Like, how? Like, he didn't give me anything I could do. And then one of my agents the other day, he said, dude, like, genius is hidden in simplicity. So I started thinking, like, okay, maybe Dave's onto something here. Like, he just goes to frickin' work. That's it. So after I took that switch, I started working a lot harder. And then what do you know? Now my agents are starting to work harder. They're making more money. It is that simple. It literally just is going to work. And the consistency of it, which has been huge. So, I thank Dave Wishart for that. And obviously Dave thanks Sean. So inadvertently, thank you, Sean. Just don't overcomplicate this thing. Just buy leads and go to work.
I think almost mentally, like we want it to be more complicated than it is to like almost give ourselves an excuse, because like if you make it more complicated, then you have an excuse for why it didn't work. But if you really boil it down to, I'm just running 30 appointments a week, I'm working hard, I'm waking up at this time, I'm dialing, I'm working these days, and you make it that simple, then really you have to be honest with yourself and be like, if I'm not successful, it's because I'm not working. So some people don't like being that honest with themselves. And that's why they try to make it more complicated than, because at the end of the day, I mean, it is, you buy leads, you call them, you run 30 appointments, you make deposits. You get that to where you're good enough to where your cash flow is fine. You're throwing it in the business, and then you just go tell people how to do it. I didn't recruit my friends. I don't know how much of yours is warm market. We did, right around 180 last month. And most of what I have is all warm market. And it was literally just me showing my friends like, hey, like this is my deposits. Like, this is what I made. Like, I didn't have to try to sell them some vision. I was like, I buy leads. This is how much I spent. I went on these many appointments, and this is how much I made. That's so simple. Like you can get so many people just doing that. So going into that, so great. Love everything that you said. Going into that, what has your team growth looked like? Did you hit a lot of warm market? Obviously you got ZipRecruiter right away. What does your team consist of now? Is it a lot of warm, a lot of cold, mostly cold? How did that work for you?
Yeah, so it's mostly cold market. I don't really have that big of a network. Now we're starting to pick up some warm market, like through a lot of social media. But most of my team consists of like folks from ZipRecruiter, Craigslist. A lot of it comes from LinkedIn.
Really?
Just me consistently posting on LinkedIn and reaching out to people. So, we're messaging people all day long, every day on LinkedIn. I think our number of views, we have like 4,000 views over the last 90 days on LinkedIn. So It's just where we're consistently on there, just messaging people, posting. So I think that's been a huge help for us because people are already in the industry and they see what we're doing, and they're stuck at these companies where they're at like 50% comp, and they're like, how do you guys do that? And so we're just having folks that start reaching out to us now, which has been pretty cool. So not that much warm market. That's definitely something. I was actually just texting my guy, John, my recruiter, that we got to start doing some more of that stuff. Because I think, when you have that warm market, it's easier to have that trust with someone. Like if you got a friend, Gabriel, you say, hey, it's this easy, and this person trusts you already because they know who you are. You have that relationship with them. It's easier to keep that person. I think simpler to keep the person motivated because they see what you're doing and they already have their trust. Yeah, I guess the team's mostly LinkedIn and ZipRecruiter right now.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome then. And then I think we're kind of different ends of the spectrum. I would love to be able to get the cold market more, and like the warm market hasn't worked out so far as much for you, but I'm sure it will. Well, that's great. And I wanted to highlight something you said before. I heard it right from Nick Ayala. You told me that when you started, you were trying to pitch this as like the best thing to everyone. And then you kind of started looking at it a little different, like, hey, we're crushing it. I talked to Nick Ayala about he recruits because he just crushes it on the recruiting end. And he really changed my mind with this one phrase. He said, I'm trying to scare people away. He's like, when I'm on the phone with people, he's like, I'm trying to give them some of the negatives. He's like, I of course I pitch it, for what it is, for what a great opportunity. He's like, but I'm trying to scare him a little bit, because I want that right up front, them to kind of see how it is. So that's
Yeah.
sounds like that's a little bit of what you're doing.
Yes, I was analyzing the numbers with my staff the other day, and like, the last 2 weeks we hired, like, I think it was, I don't know, sometime in January, and a 2-week period we hired over 50 people, but only like a certain number of them were actually signing up to the class. So we're like, dude, we're not actually hiring these people. That's kind of like saying, we submitted $5 million in business, but the client never pays on it. Like, cool, right. They look good for a day or two, and then like, okay, like, it's not on the books. So now, like, we really want to start scaring people away. So now, like, this week, we're having a lot of conversations with folks, and we start talking about the negatives, and are you willing to make it through this to see all the goods? And I wouldn't say the negatives, but just like the ups and downs of the business, right? It's not a negative; it's just part of business. Can you actually weather the storm to make it through? And a lot of these people are saying, nope, I'd curl up. Like, okay, it's not going to be a good fit for you. And we scare them away. And I'll use my story a little bit too. Is I was in South Carolina. I started this thing when I was in South Carolina, back in like 2 Septembers ago, and then I relocated to Jersey. And for whatever reason, I guess I lost my Jersey-ness because I just wasn't able to do that well up there. So I moved back down to South Carolina real fast. I guess I became too nice or something. So the Jersey folks were walking all over me again. And so I came down to South Carolina. And then from South Carolina, I heard there was an opportunity down in Florida. So, I called Ryan Montalto. I was talking to him like, hey, dude, like, what would you do? And he goes, I would move to Florida. So 2 days later, I packed my stuff up. I was in a car and I moved to Florida. And I'll talk to people like, hey, are you willing to do what it takes to be successful over here? If you saw an awesome opportunity and you have the ability to, like, would you pick up and go? And obviously, if someone has like a family and everything, that's going to be a different story. But if someone really wants success, what are you willing to give up to get what you want? And I'll just kind of, feel people out a little bit to see what they're actually willing to do. Like, maybe they're not willing to pick up and completely relocate, but are they willing to go take a travel trip? Like, would you be willing to go travel a 4 or 5 hour drive, on a weekend to go run business? And I want the people that say yes. Because the people that say yes, that they're willing to do what it takes to be successful over here. So I think it's really, if someone says, no, I don't want to travel more than 30 minutes, it's like, does that person really want to make money? Or do they want to really act in reality? Do they actually want to be lazy and just hope they have money?
Right.
A lot of people, like, if you look at Sean's success, like everyone wants Sean's success, right? And then you ask, hey, how many of y'all are willing to take 50 flights a week? And you see like 95% of the room hands go down. So how many people actually want that success? And what are they willing to give up to get it? And just having that conversation with people, you can really test out and see how bad they want something. Because if you're working over here, you got to work hard, right? Especially your first year. It's tough, right? You got to go to work. And for people that aren't actually really wanting to go to work, it's not going to work out. So I don't want to spend my time on the building side, spending time with someone that's probably not going to go to work anyway. So I was talking to one of my agents the other day, and he was saying, dude, I'm struggling. I'm like, okay, like, let's go through your schedule real quick. What does it look like? Well, I'm working Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, on Friday, how many hours do you work? Well, I had to end up taking time with the kids, and the wife, the honey-do list came up. I'm like, okay, dude, like, look, this is your business. If you had a restaurant and you only had it open 2 days a week, and then you're complaining that you weren't making any money, like, what would you do? Like, well, I open up the doors more. Like, okay, it's the same thing here, man. Like, if you want the success, you got to put in the work. And it's just, I'm cool now scaring people away because I almost want to. I want that crazy. I want that person that wants to work really hard. I want the person that's actually willing to make 150,000 bucks a year, at least. If someone just says, hey, I want to come over here and like make 40, 50 grand, I'm like, hey, this probably isn't the right opportunity for you, because they're not willing to put in the work that it actually takes to be successful. Unless you're part-time. Part-time is different, right? If you're a full-time agent, and I'm looking for the person that's hungry for success.
Yeah, you definitely are looking for really strong qualities in a person. Like for instance, speaking to exactly what you said. So I have a girl, and for you on serve the people you probably saw, name's Mindy, and I'll talk about it because she's not on here right now. But Mindy just went in full time. Her husband quit his job, going full time. Mindy is pregnant, is out there crushing it, and just as she really consistently writes 5-10K a week part time. And so she just started full. And when she started full time, her first 2 days, 16 appointments, no sales. And it was funny because that at this point had not happened to Mindy yet. Happened to me a ton of times. I don't know how many weeks I've had 2 days with no sales and still finished with 10K for the week. So like I'm comfortable with it, but for her, it hadn't happened yet. And what is she doing? She is watching training videos. She's keeping her activity high. And yesterday she broke out, had a 5K day. And check this out, had a snowstorm. Her car got stuck before she had to leave. She didn't get a lot of sleep because she had a little pregnancy sickness. But what? She went out there and crushed it. And like you said, we're looking for a certain kind of person. Obviously, that's a unique individual that's not making excuses, for why she can't and is just determined to win. And of course, she did, and she'll continue doing it. But exactly what you said, that was so powerful what you said. You're not trying to pitch this as the biggest like the best thing in the world. You're trying to get people who want to be a Yankee. They want to be a part of something great and do something. And obviously that's fed in your team a lot. That's why you did 100,000 last week, because you're getting those people. Yeah. And then one follow-up
I talk about, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I talk a lot about there's a. Oh, you go ahead. You're running that. You're running the call.
It was just a follow-up question to that, and you might answer this already. Helping people get there. Say you got some killers on your team. How do you help people starting out? They're going through the ups and downs of the business, like you said. How do you help that person grow? What encouragement do you speak to them? How do you help them get to where they can be?
So I want to understand what their goals are. And when I first started hiring, I just assumed that everyone had the same goal as me, like why they want to do stuff and make a boatload of money. And it wasn't working for a while. And I actually sat down with Wayne a while ago, and we just went over how people are actually building over here, what a lot of other people are doing to have that success, with their agents having quick success. And you just want to understand their goals and understand what an agent's trying to do. Just like when you're in the home, right? When you're first starting out, you probably have a little bit of trouble bringing out the why, right? That you take for face value. Oh, I just don't want to be a burden on my kids. Okay, great. So it'll be $100 a month. Well, I don't like that for my kids that much. I got to go think about this.
Right.
So the same thing is true on the hiring side. When you got agents here, right? You got to understand what the agent's goals are. You got a lot of folks that are coming into this, don't come into this thing with a lot of money. They come into this wanting to better their life. So what are your goals? How bad do you want to get out of the situation you're in?
Right.
If someone's, working at a warehouse, hey, I really don't want to be there anymore. And, I talk hey man, how bad do you not want to be there? Really badly. Okay, well, hey, look, we got to keep working this thing. This thing works. If you want to really not work at the warehouse, you got to make sure between that 3 and 8 o'clock when you're off work, we're dialing again. Right. It's just bringing back the why, right? If you understand the agent's why and why they want to make money, why they want to get out of their situation, it's not like in a home where you use it as ammunition. You just use it, you leverage that to help that person get out of their situation. And I think that's what helps a lot, is just connecting with people on a personal level, understanding their goals. So that way, if they're going through the ups and downs, we just remind them what the goals are. We have a shared vision board to help them get there.
Yeah, I love the way you answered that question, because it reminded me of your perception of David Wichard and how you went there and you felt like he was going to give you a lot of of practical, like not that what the advice he gave was impractical, but a lot of like technical, this, and this is what you do when you say this. And what you did there is I asked you what you said to agents, and what you gave me was a mindset thing. You didn't give me when they're running through this, I tell them this. You said, hey, I'm trying to find the why. I'm trying to find what the essence of their spirit is, because we both know if their attitude and their mind is in the right place, that regardless of what they're going through, they're going to figure it out. Because this is just such a great opportunity. The info is out there, the training. Like, if a person's mind is in the right place and they have a vision on their goals, they're going to overcome and figure it out. That was a great answer.
Yeah. It was kind of like John Wetmore, one of my agents goes, dude, like, how do you hold yourself accountable for getting up and going to work every day? Like, how do you do that? And I was going to do like a long team training on how to do that, like all these like in-depth stuff. And I talked to John Wetmore, and obviously, if there's a common theme here, I talked to him a lot. It's probably why, the team's grown, but it's a lot of John. It's not me. It's John's good at this. So I'm just taking bits and pieces from him. And
right.
He goes, dude, it's just like, when's the last, he goes, Dan, like, when's the last time you woke up in the middle of the night and had to go use the bathroom? He goes, well, like 3 weeks ago. Okay, well, did you sit there and think about it for the next 5 hours, or did you get your butt out of bed and go to the bathroom? Well, I got up and went to the bathroom. Okay, the same thing here. Like, you want to be successful, you got to have the same sense of urgency to get up there and go to work. Like, if you start getting all this in-depth stuff, you're overcomplicating it, right? This thing is simple. If you want success, you got to go to work. You just have to have the urgency that you want to be successful. So I think it's something that Easton said, if you want like exceptional results, you can't have an average mindset and work ethic. You got to go to work. Like, you have to have an extraordinary mindset and work ethic if you want extraordinary results. And that's just kind of something that's stuck with me.
That's awesome, man. That's all. We gave a ton of really good info. You gave us your why, your journey, what you did. You went from practical to your mindset, and then what you're doing with agents. That was a ton of great information. I want to open it up for the last couple minutes here. If we have a few questions, maybe something we didn't cover that you'd like to ask Dan, I'd like to open up for a second. I look like Lee, I see your emoji hand up there. What question do you have?
I've got a couple, actually. Dan, you were actually one of my first exposures to FFL on LinkedIn. So thank you for that.
Right.
And I remember it being one of the most polite sales pitches ever. And I think I told you that. And that was back in August. I
remember that exactly.
Yeah. Has your approach changed at all? Like, how do you do your sales pitches now on LinkedIn?
So it's changed a little bit. I'm a little bit more direct now, but I still just open it up like, hey, I see we're in the same industry. Let's connect. Mm-hmm. Cheers, Dan. And I just blast that out to 100 people a day. And I said, hey, how are you liking X, Y, and Z company right now? How's it going for you? And mm-hmm. LinkedIn's a little bit different than like a normal, getting someone on ZipRecruiter or Craigslist or something. I just want to foster conversation. And I just want to see if someone wants to get on the phone, have a quick chat, just kind of talk about what they're doing over there. Then just how it generally works is, once we start talking about how we do stuff over here, people are like, what? That exists? And it's not really a sales pitch when you do it on LinkedIn. It's just having that conversation from professional to professional to see if there's better opportunities out there for people. Because that's what people are messaging me back on LinkedIn, is because they're looking for other opportunities. If they weren't looking for it, they wouldn't answer you. Right. So you just want to have that, more of a personal conversation. And typically when I'm talking to folks on LinkedIn, it's not an immediate hire. It's just an initial conversation. And then I send them like a Sean Mike overview video, because they typically ask more information at the end of it. And hey, go take some time, look at this video, and let's get something on the books for tomorrow. Right? And I always want to schedule a follow-up interview after that, just so that we have, again, a communication. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much how I do my LinkedIn. Keep it simple. It's very rarely a one hire. I don't want to hire people on the first interview on LinkedIn, because that means that they're probably actually very flaky. So I don't ever want to hire someone on the first go around. I always want to send them a video and then we have a follow-up conversation. So that way they can actually have time to think things over. Because if someone's not actually sitting down and looking over like Sean Mike stuff or how, they haven't researched the company, but they want to jump all in, that's probably not someone you actually want on your team, because they're probably not actually willing to go through and do all the research on the back end. And that's actually happened to me a few times. And then the person flakes. What did I expect? Right? When I told him it's a good opportunity over here, you jump ship immediately. Like, you probably didn't actually do the research. So you want to really foster that conversation on LinkedIn for folks that are serious.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yep.
For some people out there, Dan, just because I know you a little bit better than some. And I know that one minute we were standing beside each other. I was meeting you for the first time, training in Orlando, and you were living somewhere else. Then you relocated to Orlando. And then I think you moved somewhere else now. What prompted you to do that moving around? And how did you know that you needed to do that for the sake of your business or personally, or just kind of what drove those transitions for you?
Yeah, to be honest, dude, like I followed the money and I followed the support system that we had. And I was told that we were opening up an office in Lake Mary, a corporate office. And there was an opportunity for some leads in this area. And, personally, I don't have much responsibilities outside of myself right now. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to take this up. Like, this is an awesome opportunity. I'm not going to pass on it. And I followed where the support was. I followed where the leads were. And it was that simple.
And then just a follow-up question, because you kind of glossed over it. You said 8 to 8. And I know you start a little bit earlier than that. And $600-700 a dial session. How do you manage your leads? Because obviously if you're making that many dials, you have a solid lead flow, for lack of a better way to put it. But how do you manage those leads and figure out what you're going to dial, where you're going to go, and so on and so forth?
Yep. So first off, dude, you got a nice beard coming in. Looks nice. But how I started figuring out my lead flow is I like to know my schedule. Like, I'll have a bigger schedule in place that's 60 days out. So if you look at my calendar book, right, I'd show you, but it's in my car. I always know exactly where I'm going to be for about 60 days out. And the next 30 days are rock solid. So now I tell myself where I'm going to be. And if I need to make changes, I can make some tweaks to it. But I always want to know, like, for the next 30 days, what like a rough draft of my schedule. The next 60 days, 30 is more solid of what the schedule is going to look like. And I just load up on leads in an area. So, typically I like to get a bunch of leads in one area and I travel there. So if I say, hey, I'm going to go to Gainesville, okay, I'm going to go grab 70, 80, 90 leads in Gainesville and go run that area. And then how I can run 12 appointments a day. And, that's from 8 to 8. And how I'll do that is I organize the leads. I don't go like analysis paralysis mode, but I'll organize them like by general area. So this way I'm not going from point A to point Z. When I go to point A to point Z, I'm hitting up B, C, D, E, like all the spots in the middle. So I'm never really traveling more than, occasionally I'll have like a 30, 45 minute drive, but I like not to do that. And how I started being able to schedule them like so compact, I think a lot of new agents just get like, how do you do that? Like, this person said he can only meet at 8 o'clock. So I put him at 8, but it's like 3 hours away in this direction. I started approaching it like, I'm the doctor. They're going to fit into my schedule. I'm not fitting into their schedule. Right. So I understand what their schedule is. And I say, hey, I'm coming out here at 11 o'clock. I just tell them I'm coming. So when I have, it's kind of like if you go to a doctor's office, if you call up a doctor's office and go, oh yeah, you can come in anytime today. It's that the doctor's probably killing everyone. That's why they have availability all day long. But when I put them into my schedule, let's say, hey, I'm running area A in the morning, area B in the afternoon, right? If someone from area B says my only slot's in the morning, I don't book it. I just don't. So I understand that I'm going to be able to structure my schedule better with someone in that area. And for the first little while, when I wasn't good at the phones, I kind of did feel like I was losing some appointments. But now that I really have that, hey, I'm a busy doctor mindset, I'm able to fill that schedule real quick to make sure the structure's in place. That way I can run 12 appointments a day if I needed to. Did that answer that question, Wayne? Yeah.
Crystal clear.
Sweet. Perfect. And something else I would do on the dial days to kind of trick myself into dialing a lot. I would start figuring out, okay, how much money did I make this week? And then I boiled it down to, okay, how many dollars am I making per call? Like whether or not someone hangs up, goes to voicemail, disconnect the number, I don't care. How much money am I actually making per phone call? And when I first started, it was like $6 or $7 a phone call. So I'm like, hey, how many times can I dial the phone in an hour? So when I started thinking about it that way, I didn't care if someone said no. I don't care if someone tried punching me through the phone. I didn't care anymore because I realized, hey, if I make 100 phone calls in an hour, I just made $700. Like no matter what someone said to me, it took the emotions out of this thing. You know, if you do that with yourself, even if it's just $1 a phone call, right? Yeah, you make 700 phone calls a day. You just made $700.
Yeah, that's it.
If you were making $1 a phone call, how many phone calls would you make in a day? Right? It would probably skyrocket when you start looking at it that way. You don't care what people say anymore. So that's how I started approaching the phones once I started making some sales. And it just takes all the emotions out of it.
100%. 100%. All right, guys. We do have one more question. We can fit in before we let everyone go here. Don't take all Dan's time. One more. No. All right. Well, hey, Dan, you gave us a ton of really good info. You're out there crushing it, man. And I'm really excited to see what's going to happen this next year. Ivan, were you popping in there? I want to cut you off.
No, yeah, I actually did have a question. If we can wrap it up, if Dan has like a couple more minutes here, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then when you said something interesting, it's all about building the vision, building the why with your agents, and I guess, how do you do that? How do you organize that? Do you kind of let them know that they have to reach out to you? How often do you call them on a weekly basis when you get the new agent going? And how do you go about that process? Do you have any like special tracking system in place that optimizes your work so you don't forget? And just kind of wanted to pick up your brain on that and get some of your thoughts on that. Yeah.
So I kind of a little mix of both what you said right there. Like I let them call me, but I do want to reach out to them when they're a new agent. When I'm on the phone call with them, like when I'm, recruiting them and bring them on the board, I'm like, hey, look, like, I don't want to micromanage you. And I'm assuming you're an adult, right? So I'm assuming you don't want to be micromanaged either. Is that fair? And they say, yeah. I say, okay, perfect. Because, we're all adults here. So if you want to go to work, you go to work. I'm here to help. If you're not going to go to work, like, well, what do you expect? And I'll say that on the phone and I'll be that straight up with them. It's like, hey, if you just hired 2 people, and one person's working their butt off and one person's not, who would you spend more time with? The person that's working their butt off. Okay, sweet. So same thing here, man. If you go to work, I'm going to be your #1 fan. If you're not going to go to work, it's just like, I love you, but like, I don't not like you as a person. It's just like, there's not going to be much I can do for you. So I kind of set that structure there too. So that way my agents get comfortable calling me, but also through the licensing process or like just through the whole hiring process. We do have a lot of checkpoints that we're starting to put in place. So every time like an unlicensed person, they sign up for their exam, I give them a call, right? They're 50% through, I give them a call and just kind of, I want to be their friend. Like not their friend, but like I want to be a supporter of them. I want them to know that I'm there for them. And what I'm trying to do is I don't like program, makes it sound like robotic, but I want to get them comfortable calling me, right? So that way when they're out in the field, they're comfortable calling me because a lot of the agents, and I'm assuming you probably experienced it too, Ivan, Gabriel, and Wayne, and other agents builders on here, like a lot of them think that we're too busy to pick up the phone for them. So that's why they're not calling us. And I don't want my agents to feel that way. I want them to know that I'm here for them. So when they get out in the field, if they have a question, they call me. So I'll still have checkpoints with them once in a while, just to call and check what they do. But my most successful agents, they're calling me all the time because they understand that they're hungry and they want to be successful. Like my top agent, like Shadi, he's already at 30 some grand this week. He probably calls me still 10 times a day. And it's just like the agents that call me the most are the ones that are having the most success. And that's what I want to try to have my agents do throughout the process of like the licensing is I'm having these touch points with them now a lot more often to get them in the habit of calling me. So this guy, I don't have to call them all the time. They're reaching out to me.
That makes a ton of sense. Dan, my man, I appreciate your time. So let's just wrap it up, guys. And Gabe, thanks to you as well, man. This is awesome interview. The one for the record, we're gonna distribute the video to everyone. And yeah, man. So Dan, if you just want to wrap it up, give us some final 30 seconds of wisdom so we can approach Thursday the right way, and we're gonna part ways.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, first off, y'all, I appreciate y'all having me on here. It's super exciting to work with y'all, see all the growth that y'all are having. It's really cool to be on the other end of this thing and start giving back to all the folks that have, given back to me. And it's just, don't overcomplicate this thing. Keep it simple and just be real with yourself. If you're not having the result, if you want to be like the Pat Mahomes of football, you got to act like him. Right. And, if he throws an interception, hey, he gets down a little bit, but he's on the sideline seeing what went wrong. How do I improve? How is the defense reading me? The same thing's true here. If we want to be like the Pat Mahomes of life insurance, you just analyze yourself after every day, every week, just be real with yourself and start seeing where you can do better. And a lot of it just comes down to just working, like tuning into trainings and just go to work. Like y'all have an awesome team right here on this call. I know all of them would pick up the phone for y'all if y'all are going to work. So you reach out to them and just at the end of the day, just get to work. It's that simple. But I appreciate y'all having me on. It's been really cool.